Mediators' thoughts on the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial, part of the series Mediation Tips by Fran Brockstein. That is our topic for the day. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and Podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact-dependent. Hey everyone, this is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, and arbitrator working throughout Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Poland, but this time from Seville, Spain.
And I'm Fran Brockstein, a Texas attorney and mediator.
All right, guys. So we are looking, if you are watching the YouTube version of this podcast, we are looking at the last few minutes of the trial that's been happening between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And we are talking about this from the perspective of three mediators who also happen to be attorneys, just discussing this issue of conflict as part of our ongoing series. And so Fran is nice enough to come today and talk to us and give us some of her thoughts. And so Natalia and I were going to give some of our thoughts on this whole thing. And so this trial has captivated the nation or the world, really. And we just wanted to talk about it before the jurors go and start deliberating, because this is the point where we're all going to find out pretty soon whether or not Johnny Depp is successful in his lawsuit against his ex-wife, or whether or not he will lose like he lost in the UK. All right, so Fran, why don't you give us some thoughts on of what you've seen about this case?
Well, these are two actors, and they're acting for their future. And what I want to point out is that trial attorneys tend to be very good actors themselves because they know they're being watched. And I will tell you, as an attorney that I never did a jury. I actually second chaired some jury trials, but I never was the lead attorney. But a jury trial is exhausting. These attorneys have been working around the clock. They are probably their brains are probably fried. And I've always said the problem with a trial is that we don't have good script writers. And and a trial, quite frankly, if you've tried to sit through this thing, it is boring. I watched about an hour this morning of the closing arguments, and I mean, it's boring. So what do you guys have to say?
Natalia, please.
So, for us, on the other side of the globe, on another continent, this is fascinating for probably some other reasons as well. And for me, as a lawyer and as a mediator, for the reason for wanting to follow at least a part of it and knowing what's happening is, and again, another reason. So the European perspective on that, these are like huge Hollywood names, huge, big, bright Hollywood world, which is so distant from us, and this is like a different style of living, suddenly being shown from another perspective. The world that we think that only shines and has all these positives, unless someone is being stalked, followed by a stalker, then of course everything changes. But in general, this world is just pink and gold and shiny, and everything is so perfect. However, this absolutely shows another side of that, a very dark one, and that is the perspective of a regular viewer from here. However, the perspective of me as a lawyer and mediator is, of course, as a lawyer, seeing the actual process, how the lawyers behave, and as a mediator, having my other thoughts that I understand we as mediators will also be sharing. One thing I want to say as a person in a process, in legal proceedings like that in Poland, everybody would require that it is being heard behind the closed doors because of some of the intimate details that are being revealed, and that so in here that wouldn't be reported on the press upon the request of the parties, because sometimes the parties might say, okay, we want it all to be heard, we want the entire world to know about it, I have nothing to hide. But I understand that part of it got really dirty, and some of the people might regret that it really came to light. So
Well,
that's my
these,
view as a lawyer.
yeah, and these are the reasons why we mediators slash lawyers also give for why people should mediate, right? Now, I don't know, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if they ever mediated this case. Maybe they did and tried to do different kind of conflict resolution over it, or if Amber Heard was just willing to just go to trial and let a jury, hear what had happened and transpired, because some of it was embarrassing. I was watching some of the allegations of abuse and family violence, and intimate videos between the two of them in their own home in the kitchen. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't want my business out in the public streets like that, for the world to basically consume. And so this is one of the reasons, we've discussed this before, that parties should try to settle privately in mediation. And so, ladies, we've always talked about this to folks. Here are the many reasons why you should try to mediate your case. And one of them is so you don't have a reality TV show put on for the whole world to see. You can do it privately because mediation is confidential, because mediation doesn't need to go out to the for the consumption of the whole world and people who don't really care about who shouldn't care about your business. The other thing is just the fact that it's confidential means that parties are aware at mediation that the things that they say is going to stay at mediation. Okay, it's not going to come back and haunt them later on, out in open court. And so sometimes you go to mediation because you want to put things kind of under wraps, because you don't want things that you say to come back and haunt you in front of a judge or a jury. So, ladies, but give me more thoughts, ladies.
Well, and this is another reason for a long time that we didn't allow cameras in the courtroom, because everyone is playing to the cameras. We learned with the O.J. Simpson trial, who was the guy that lived in his room. I mean, the guy made a living for years from that, after being on that. So once again, a lot of these people may have their own reality shows next year. Um, and the TMZ guy testified that they had edited things. I mean, we don't know. Quite frankly, it's no trial will ever discuss everything. We've got bits and pieces of the case. What I used to tell people when I used to help attorneys get ready for a jury trial is, we're going to hopefully at least it's like a puzzles, and we hopefully will get the outline done and get some major pieces filled in, but we will never see every puzzle piece. And if you expect that, it won't happen, because we've all done things. And, if you were record me sometimes, I'm sure that I would come off really crazy and bitchy. But, overall, I mean, that's what they did. It was interesting. She whipped out that camera when I did like when he poured that giant glass of wine.
I saw
But
that.
again, you know, it was in his home. It's none of our business. Why was she recording? That was kind of strange. I'm on my third marriage. I've never recorded any of my husbands.
This actually goes back to the dirtiness of some of the people's relationship. What sort of a real relationship based on trust might you have in a marriage that records one to another? It's like gathering evidence already. Gathering evidence for what? For what reason? Where are you going and how to use it? And again, engaging lawyers from the very beginning. The thing that I already heard as rumors is who is going to be the real winner of this entire trial. Most probably the lawyers, not the parties.
Yes, I suspect that Johnny Depp's young female lawyer is going to be very, very popular coming up. And, it's interesting. She kept objecting to ruin the pace of the other attorney. I mean, that was done strategically. So there's a lot of things that the public are probably not aware of, such as what they're wearing. Did you notice that both the male lawyers had on a white shirt and a blue tie and a dark suit, and that their hair is perfect? I mean, the Amber Heard's male attorney, it really makes a nice presentation. You know, he looks very pleasing, and it's all done strategically. There are actually professionals behind the scene that help attorneys win cases by how they dress, how they act. I mean, a lot of these trial lawyers spend a lot of money go, with experts to teach them how to do a trial. So basically, we have all actors here today, and they're all playing their roles. And you are absolutely right, Natalia. The attorneys are the only winners in this deal.
So, just a couple thoughts from, again, mediators' perspective. So, one is going to deal with the cost of all of this, right? One of the benefits for going to mediation is you save money, a lot of it, because the lawyers are going to make a killing. But the other thing is the partisanship. So, you've noticed, you might have heard of Johnny Depp and Team Amber Heard, right? So, this has created a deep division, right, in society where people are taking their, uh, you know, positions and all that. One of the positions that I'm hearing about are women who feel that this is going to actually uh, cause family violence victims from not wanting to come forward because of how they might be mocked or perceived publicly. I think that's a very serious concern. Fran, you back in I think either 2 years ago or 1 year ago, we were doing October.
Uh oh. I think Mac froze.
Okay,
Oh, hi.
I should be back.
Yeah, you're back.
You
Okay,
are
so
back.
sorry about that, guys. The internet issues sometimes does happen occasionally, but Fran, what are your thoughts on the family violence component? Family violence when it is being heard at the mediation level, and family violence when it's being heard by the courts.
Well, I'm a lot older than you guys, so I will tell you that the world has changed dramatically. I am on Medicare, so that tells you how old I am. And when I was growing up, you know, a guy could hit his wife and it wasn't that big a deal. I will say the world has come a long way. I think judges are now much more sensitive to it. They've gone to training. And I will tell you that domestic violence is often very subtle. And I did enjoy hearing them talk about how you have the crisis and then you have the honeymoon period. And then, you know, you have another crisis and you have a honeymoon period. That is very common. And I guess I'm glad to hear that we've come a long way in society about domestic violence. And by the way, it does go both ways. It does. Most men won't admit to it, but about 3 or 4 times in my career, I've had some severe domestic violence on the husbands, where the wife was the batterer. So it does go both ways. And what I find is overall, the victim, um, it happens so gradually that, you know, it's not usually, if he punches it the first day, that's one thing, but it starts off and it very gradually, and the person, it doesn't realize what's happening. And the biggest problem I see for Amber Heard, and this happens a lot when I took people to court, I discussed it. Men come off as aggressive and successful. Women come off as controlling and bitchy. And so I used to really work a lot with the female clients to make sure that they did not come off negatively in the courtroom, because even highly successful professional women sometimes are perceived as not leaders, but as controlling.
And back to that, I need to tell you that speaking from the perspective of being in Spain, Spain has a very developed laws on family violence that are also very widely criticized amongst lawyers. It is enough that a woman, because it's apparently from the practice of how it is being applied, it works one way. It's enough that a woman alleges that there has been family violence, the man will be taken away. And actually, even if the actual premise is his, and will not be allowed to see the children, will not be allowed to be with the mother. So it is being an argument that is very widely abused by women, giving them very much of a protection and think. However, please look when you are looking at a trial of this kind, as we are actually seeing on the screen now, you see how twisted it might get. At some stage, you don't know who was the victim, who was the perpetrator, because both parties do ugly things. And then there is a lot of lawyers' work in presenting this way or the other. So things are not just black and white. So in a way, this is not the proceedings that strengthen the victims or fear the perpetrators. They show how in the court it all can be twisted and taken the other way around than it really was, and how sometimes it's very difficult to adjudicate whom to believe.
Yeah. So let's just talk about takeaways. What are some of your final, thoughts about, how this case went, and then what are some predictions that you guys might have? Because I'm curious to know, ladies, what you guys believe is going to be happening. I can go first, and because I'm male and chivalry is not dead, so then I'll go first. I think that this will probably go on Depp's side, in my opinion. I have some reasons for that. It's probably more of a guess, honestly. But the jurors heard everything. I tried to keep up with as much as I could, but I got a day job, so it's kind of hard to hear, every argument, every statement. But I mean, did Amber Heard come off believable? Maybe, maybe not. I know. I'll be honest. I've told one or two clients, years back, hey, crying helps. You can get the sympathy vote, and so I'm not saying that she was not being genuine, but I'm just saying that sometimes people can see through it, and they can make up their own minds. The jury is filled with men and women, and the good thing about this country is that we do have a right to be tried by jurors of our peers, and so however way it goes, okay, we shall see if it was worth this multi-million-dollar lawsuit. I believe he's asking for, is it $500 million? I think that's the claim. But Fran, what's your prediction?
I'm not sure because I think that they've both been very naughty, and they both participate in this. I'm not sure who the initial instigator was, but they stayed together for years. But what's another, I've been actually watching some attorneys look on YouTube, and I think Johnny Depp did this to save his career. And I do think that he probably will be back in movies soon because he's done what, no matter what happens, I think he won this in popular opinion, which is why I think he just, I mean, I can't even imagine what they spent. All those lawyers, I'm sure, a minimum of $500 an hour, and they practiced for this for probably months. And so I again hit their legal fees for both of them are just through the roof. It's more than any of us will ever see in our lifetimes.
Yeah, Natalia, what are your thoughts, predictions?
My predictions are, as I've already stated, there are no winners in this case, and everyone is exposed. I also think that so many prejudices come out of people when they watch that. Look what's happening. So many people express their views, what they are based upon. They are based upon what they see and how they perceive, and this perception is also twisted. So you will be seeing people who are just by the woman being, let's say, good looking, have certain views. There will be others who will have sympathy for the main protagonist of their favorite movies. So there are so many views that people are expressing that are not really helping anybody. And however, there is a good marketing strategy always. No matter what they say, the main thing is they say, because if they say, they know you, and if they know you, that brings you money.
Yeah. And finally, ladies, what about defamation itself? Have you seen uh, you know, civil actions like defamation go to mediation and get resolved, or are they the kind of cases that probably need to be tried because people are not going to be, so easily to just want to settle when their character is being defamed or when they're being accused of being the one who is slandering or libeling somebody else? What are your thoughts on the defamation going to mediation and getting resolved, Fran?
Well, I love mediation, and I think that all cases should go to mediation because defamation is usually hurt feelings. There's a lot of emotion involved. And most people just want someone to listen to them and validate them. I've always warned people that how do you prove you didn't do something? So, for example, Mac, I may sue you tomorrow for hitting me. Well, I mean, we're not even in the same city. You didn't hit me. But how do you prove that? All of a sudden I'm crying and I've got bruises and, I can say anything. And now it's many times hard to prove defamation, especially if you're a public figure like they are. I mean, as a
Yep.
private citizen, it's different. But Natalia, what are your thoughts on this?
I absolutely am of the opinion that defamation cases can be directed to mediation, can be settled in mediation. Because please remember, this is what we've been conveying from the very beginning of this podcast and show. Court is not the place where you go to be listened to, where somebody will follow what you say. Court is a place where, based on arguments and facts and legal grounds, someone will give you a judgment. This might have nothing to do with your real feelings, with how it really went, with evidence you presented, which could have been undermined by the other side, by the other party. So please remember, in mediation, there is a place where all your feelings, everything can be presented. It will be respected because it is within the privacy of mediation, can't be taken anywhere else. And also, you are facing the person who is doing you wrong or who's done you wrong, and not the entire world like here. This is not just the courtroom that we're seeing. There is the entire world of comments on it, on Twitter, on Facebook. There are the little videos made of that. There will be memes made of that. How much of an infringe of privacy is that? Who is going to suffer for that if it's going to be present in the internet for decades? Mediation saves you all of that.
All right, as we say, mediate, don't hate. All right, guys. Thank you so much, ladies, for your insights. I appreciate it. And the jury, they're deliberating, and it's just gonna be hours or maybe even days until we find out their position, and then the rest is history. We shall see what our predictions, come to be. All right, guys. Signing off. Take care. Until next time.
Bye.